Hello and welcome to Back to the Science. I'm Dr. Susan Oliver and I'm a scientist, and this is Cindy Oliver and she's a dog. Now, a few people have asked me to debunk a video from a guy called Elliot Overton entitled "Famous Influencers Are Dropping Like Flies. Why?" It's only a short video, just over 6.5 minutes long. But Mr Overton manages to jam a lot of bollocks into that short time. Now, I'm not sure if that's deliberate or if he just has serious comprehension problems. I'll let you decide. Anyway, before we have a look at the video, here is just a quick introduction to Mr Overton. He's a nutritional therapist and certified functional medicine practitioner. No idea what that is, but it appears the only qualification you need is a diploma. Oh, and he's also on the platform formerly known as Twitter. This is his pinned tweet. The ultimate thread on nicotine, a pro-metabolic, anti-inflammatory, performance-enhancing, dopaminergic, neuroprotective powerhouse. Learn how this unique substance supercharges the brain, improve focus, cognition, and memory recall, maximize learning and productivity. Right. Believe it or not, it gets worse. According to Mr Overton, nicotine prevents death from smoking, prevents Parkinson's disease, and prevents weight gain. Now, I thought the post was maybe an April Fool's joke because it was posted on the 1st of April. But someone asked him about it in the comments, and apparently he's serious. Suffice it to say, Mr Overton does not have a lot of expertise in science or medicine. Of course, that doesn't mean we should just reject his video out of hand. Let's have a listen to what he has to say.
It's 2024 and influencers are still dropping like flies. 3 years on, and we continue to see young and previously healthy people from all backgrounds dropping dead. But why is this happening?
Oh dear. Looks like we have another ghoul getting clicks from sharing stories about people who have died and suggesting, without evidence, that they might be related to you know what. What ghouls like Mr Overton either don't know or don't tell you is that, sadly, young people have always died. This chart here is based on data from 2005, well before COVID vaccines, and shows the annual risk of death by age and sex in the UK. And it would likely be similar in most Western countries, although potentially a little higher in the USA owing to the large number of gun-related homicides. As you can see, by the time you reach the age of 35, your chance of dying in any 1 year is about 1 in 1,000 if you are female. So 5 women in their 30s who died is just a tiny proportion of the expected deaths each year. Of course, Overton is talking specifically about influencers. Now, he doesn't actually define what constitutes an influencer, but for the sake of argument, let's say an influencer is someone with over 100,000 followers, although Overton does include people with less followers than this in his death list. So, how many of these influencers are there? As of February 2024, there were nearly 450,000 YouTube channels with 100,000 subscribers or more. And as people like to continually remind me, I'm not one of them. This number pales into insignificance, however, compared with Instagram, where there are apparently over 100 million accounts with over 100,000 followers. Now, obviously, not all these people are females in their 30s, which is the group that Mr Overton has singled out. But we are still talking about a lot of people. So, sadly, it's expected that some of them will pass away. Not all the causes of death were known for the women Mr Overton ghoulishly shared, but even when they were, he still appeared to lie about them. Either that or he just has serious comprehension problems.
We also saw the death of yet another influencer in the same month. This was after a year-long battle with cervical cancer, which was pretty fast-acting, and she was only diagnosed the year before. Her name was Jessica Pettway. Once again, just 36 years old.
Jessica Pettway's cervical cancer was not pretty fast-acting. As it says in the headline, it was misdiagnosed. Hard to believe Overton could have missed that. But he may just have serious comprehension issues, as I said. Pettway said she began experiencing intense vaginal bleeding and extreme fatigue in June 2022, which she considered to be a normal thing that women go through. But the following month, her husband found her unresponsive and not breathing in their bathroom. Pettway said she was rushed to the hospital, where she was told the blood loss was due to fibroids, which develop in more than 80% of African American women by age 50. Her gynecologist, Pettway said, made her condition seem common, despite having Pettway stay overnight due to the size of the blood clots she was passing. Later that month, Pettway was hospitalised for the same issue. But again, she said, the medical professionals treated it like it was not that alarming since it was just a fibroid. Pettway's symptoms worsened and she was hospitalised again in January 2023. She said doctors told her she could not have surgery to remove her presumed fibroids because of her low blood supply. She received 10 blood transfusions during her hospital stay. Finally, Pettway said in February 2023, an oncologist performed an outpatient biopsy and diagnosed her with stage 3 cervical cancer. This is a tragic story and one that should be publicised so that no other women needlessly lose their lives. It should not be weaponised by an anti-vaxxer who would rather score a point than help prevent deaths. Cervical cancer can be prevented by HPV vaccination, routine cervical cancer screening and follow-up treatment. Yet more than 11,000 new cervical cancer diagnoses and about 4,000 deaths occur each year in the US. Jessica Pettway was sadly one of a large number of women. Now, obviously, the HPV vaccine will only work if you get it before you are infected with HPV, but all women can get regular cervical cancer screening. And depending on where you live, it's a lot more pleasant than it used to be because you can now take your own sample, which is so much better.
So we're starting to see a very strange pattern here. Women in their early to mid 30s primarily who are passing away for seemingly uncommon and rare conditions.
Okay, so this is the paper he is using to justify his claim that women in their 30s are passing away from uncommon and rare conditions. If you scroll down a bit, you'll see that the paper is about sudden cardiac death in children and adolescents. So it has no relevance whatsoever to women in their 30s.
It's just a coincidence that some of these influencers were publicly advocating for a certain medical procedure.
It looks like Overton doesn't just suffer from reading comprehension problems, he also has trouble counting. This is one influencer, not some influencers. And you like the way he doesn't use the word vaccine, so YouTube's AI won't pick up that he is spreading medical misinformation.
And it's clear now that news outlets are forced to report on this. They simply cannot deny it. So here we have women's heart attacks rising, particularly among those 30 to 50 years old. So this is definitely a thing, guys.
Yes, this is definitely a thing. If you scroll down a bit on the article that he has screenshotted, you will see that it was definitely a thing in 2019 when the study describing it was published. And for anyone who doesn't remember, there were no COVID vaccines in 2019. Not sure why Overton is presenting evidence that disproves the point he's trying to make. Perhaps he missed the date.
The same goes for turbo cancers. In fact, if we look at this graph here, we can see cancer rates have risen exponentially since 2021. Of course, the cause is a complete mystery.
Actually, the graph doesn't even show cancer rates. Over 10,000 people die from cancer every week in the USA. The maximum shown on this graph is about 200. Add inability to read a graph to Overton's comprehension problems. The graph he is showing was prepared by an anti-vaxxer known as the ethical skeptic, who just happens to have me blocked on the platform formerly known as Twitter. This is nothing special though. The ethical skeptic preemptively blocks anyone he knows is capable of showing that he's talking bollocks. If you are curious about what has actually happened with cancer death rates in the USA, Just Data has plotted them from January 2018 to January 2024 by age group. As you can see, they're pretty much flat for all age groups.
Not too long ago, a study showed an alarming rise in heart failure deaths, especially among younger adults. And we're talking about adults who are under the age of 40, which is really bizarre.
The story is about this study here. It looked at heart failure mortality in the US from 1999 to 2021. What they found was that the downward trend in heart failure mortality reversed in 2012 and started increasing again. Then in 2020, the increase accelerated across all age groups and the increase continued in 2021. Of course, 2020 was when COVID started spreading in the US, and COVID cases were much higher in 2021. And it is well known that COVID is associated with a number of cardiovascular complications, including heart failure.
This headline says this heart attack attacks young, active women, and doctors don't really know why. It's such a mystery.
You don't even have to scroll down on this story to see that it's sharing a story about a lady who suffered from spontaneous coronary artery dissection, or SCAD, in 2008. If you read further, you'll see that the first SCAD report was recorded almost 95 years ago, and that 40% of heart attacks in women under 50 can be attributed to SCAD. Yet another screenshot that doesn't support Overton's narrative.
Of course, the media is quick to jump on extremely stupid excuses. One is that the rise in extreme weather conditions is responsible for the increased heart disease. Another one they're blaming it on is sleep. Now, we know sleep's important, but they're saying that sleep can increase women's risk of heart disease by 75%. This is obviously just whitewashing, guys, at this point. USA Today are saying it's all about misdiagnosis. That's what it is. We're just better at diagnosing it these days. That's the reason for so many heart attacks. Or if you listen to the Cosmopolitan, well, they'll tell you that women are just not getting the treatment that they need because of sexism. There we go. That can explain it all, guys. I'm glad we cleared that one up.
Given one of the deaths that was ghoulishly shared by Overton was a lady who likely died because her cancer was misdiagnosed, it's pretty disgusting that Overton is dismissing misdiagnosis as an issue for women. And of course, there is no reason for the media to make excuses for recent increased deaths in young women because they're not happening. Overton is lying and misrepresenting research from before the pandemic. He seems not to realise that just because a news article is recent, it doesn't mean it's talking about recent trends. Overton didn't share links for any of the screenshots that he used, which makes it harder for his viewers to realise that he is just presenting bollocks. But if you'd like to look further into the data that I've presented, I have provided links in the video's description. And please remember, this video is about the science, but you shouldn't take it as medical advice. For that, you should speak to your medical practitioner. If you've got this far, thank you for listening. And if you've liked, shared, or commented on the video, double thank you, because that helps the algorithm and means that more people will see the video. And of course, thank you to everyone who has bought me a coffee, or little sleepy Cindy, who's only moved once during the whole video, a treat. We really appreciate your support, don't we, Cindy? Yes, she says yes. We will be continuing to make videos about the science in the future. So if you'd like to join the cool kids and stay informed, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you.